Oh yeah, yeah. back to see the brothers.
There's nothing wrong with that. Especially
Front and center from going down. Everybody can hear y'all.
But I mean, this is all it means is we pretty much cover most of everything I'm doing, except for some shared one.
All right, y'all ready to get started? All right, let's open our meeting up with a prayer and then we'll get moving forward. Pray with me. Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here today. We ask that you watch over us. We ask that you watch over our city. We ask that you watch over our decisions tonight. We ask that you watch over our city workers as they prepare for the storm that we have upcoming. Make sure we keep everybody safe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right. First thing is announcements. Mark, what do you have for us?
All right. If I can have Casey, James, and Stephen all come forward. Yeah.
Head southeast toward Alabama Street.
Let me make sure that's on tap first, Casey.
There we go. All right, so we want to recognize these two gentlemen. They just completed a instructor training course, and as someone who has took the class himself, that's probably the most stressful, aggravating, and hardest class we'll probably take in law enforcement. It's a 3-week-long class. The first week is regular classroom, but during that time, they teach you that the people that you're instructing, you are responsible for the rest of their career. So if you teach them wrong, you're liable for that. So once you pass that part of it, then you go to week number 2 where you create a lesson plan. And when you create this lesson plan, there's certain things that has to be in it because my lesson plan that I made, any one of these guys can take that lesson plan and teach it just like I did. So it's got to have the same thing in it. So it's a state requirements, very specific stuff they have to have in it. Then the third week, you have to teach that class. And again, you have to have certain things that you mention in that class. It has to be between 45 and 55 minutes, which is, there's no leeway for. If it's 44 minutes and 50 seconds, you fail. If it's 55 minutes and 10 seconds, you fail. So it's very specific on what you have to do. I was asked to sit in and listen to their class and do some feedback, and I sat in both of those and some other ones, and they all did really well. But it's a huge accomplishment for us to have instructors. The city of Demorest, before Robin got here, never had an instructor in-house. So Robin was instructors for 8 years. We had 1 instructor. We now have 3 instructors, myself and these 2. Stephen, it will be our trainer. He's going to be over our training division. And like I said, my goal is for us to be able to do all our training in-house. We don't have to rely on anybody else. We will still train with other departments, but we don't have to rely on them for our training. We'll get our training done in-house. So Huge accomplishment for both these guys.
Casey, hang on a second, if I may, they did their practice training and working in this room. Probably was 12 to 14 of y'all total. I come down here, and I mean, they were just totally stressed out, just working their tails off to get through this thing, and they would practice their timing down. And everybody had that look, and then they finally get to do their presentation in front of the couple of instructors there. And again, you got to move forward only because you passed.
Right.
So you did the first two things, and now the final is that presentation.
Right.
Then you find out right there, did you pass or fail?
Oh,
Tell them what your emotions were.
it was just immediate, just relief when they said you passed. But prior to that, it was awful.
Stephen, what did your wife say if you had to go to another week of class?
And she's a teacher, so she kind of looks over everything.
And she was done with you
Yeah,
because of your attitude. But tell them your emotions when you found out too. Tell me your
Mine
emotions.
was, I was like, I thought that I didn't pass, so I was relieved that it was over with. Don't have to worry about it again.
Stephen lost 5 pounds during
Yeah.
his presentation just by sweating.
Yeah, sweating from sweating.
And you know what Casey told me? Casey had told me if he'd have failed, he would never take that class again. It was that bad.
It is not physically. We do a lot more training that's more physical, but this is the most stressful class that we'll have.
Well, nice job, guys. Thank you.
Thank y'all. All right, Dave. Chief Sheriff. Come on. You can do it in the front if you want. Y'all can see the certificate that's in your booklet here for Dave. And this was quite an achievement. I'll let you talk about it and tell how many chiefs in the state of Georgia have this accreditation.
There's about 40 of us in the entire state that have completed about to that level of being a state certified fire chief. Kind of talked about a lot of them, but it took many years to get there, but it was many hours of training to finally get there. But there's only about 40 of us in the state. There's only 2 of us in Habersham County. One of them is also one of mine. That's Chief Irwin in Dawson County. He's a firefighter.
These are our part-timers.
He's our part-timers. So there's only 2 of us in the entire county and about 40 in the entire state that have accomplished that goal.
How long was this class? 3 hours.
To get there probably took 200 hours of classroom work, plus all the assignments and the homework and stuff.
And what's your next level of classes?
You can't go any higher.
Okay, that
In
was
the state of Georgia, you can't go any higher than your certification level in the fire service. So I maxed that out.
Doctor fire.
That's not what it is, sir. Yeah.
Sign up for the police instructor class.
Actually, no. But I can tell you, I will tell you this: I am a fire instructor. It is a stressful class, but you can take fire instructor 2, which is even more stressful, which gives you the same thing as the same level of instruction. I do have one of those sitting right back there. He completed that. That's Tim Nunley.
Say that again.
Tim Nunley has also completed what's considered Fire Instructor 2, which is the equivalent to that stressful 3 weeks of class, and he completed that class this year as well. So,
Really? Oh.
In 2024.
in 2024, that's correct. You're right. It's 2025. My apologies. But yes, so we are advancing the same
Well, very nice job.
Yeah, so.
Very good.
Dave.
All right, next let's talk about council appointments. You know, every year we look at appointing council members over departments. And talk about which departments we
This is Johnny Urban we were just talking about right here.
The question come up I asked a couple of weeks ago is you know, why? Well, why is because it's in the charter, and that's where it it's why that we put, the mayor has the opportunity to put somebody over each department or that person. But really, as an elected body, y'all have the ability to oversee all of those things, and I think that it's unfair to restrict that. Y'all have any conversations about that?
I kind of feel like being over or with a particular department gives that department head a person to go to have a voice on the council. That's the way I kind of felt when I was over the fire and police at one time, water department at one time. You know, if they had any concerns, which of course they can reach out to any of us, but they knew that I was their voice here. And that was from the department head all the way, you know, to every employee within that group. Not sure that really, you know, shakes out for everybody, but that's the way I have seen it.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. She has someone that she can say, oh, he's for us. We can talk to this person.
Okay.
Which we're all for all,
Yes.
Yeah.
but that just gives that one listening ear, you know,
I
to be
just hate
able
the
to.
idea of almost singling out that's not your only focus. That's not your only focus.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And I wasn't sure how y'all feel about moving forward in the wider scope on that.
What do you mean?
Just as far as just opening it up.
Oh.
that There's no direct appointments over each department.
For my take on this, you know, I feel like this is a learning opportunity for anyone that just want to get involved. And, you know, I know I've done water and roads for the last 3 years. And when I reached out to you, I would like to do something different. You know, another department just so, and I like the guys on the road department and Brian, them, I mean, they do a phenomenal job. And, but they're busy, you know, I mean, they have so much to do. You know, I tried to plug in and I'm not saying that it doesn't work both ways, but I see them on the streets. I try to say, you know, stop and say hey to them and talk to them and tell them I appreciate what you do. Me personally, I mean, if we are going to do departments, I'd just like to be able to have a chance to get to know another department a little more, you know, just for the experience, just so I can, after 4 years, I can say, yeah, I have a better understanding how each department runs, et cetera, you know, so. But I kind of understand how Brian and them go, because that's what I do. That's what I do every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know. So digging deeper into the fire department and the police department, having a better understanding of how they operate will be a win-win for me, or even what Sean does. You know, if we had an opportunity to do what Sean does, it'll be a win-win for me as well. Seeing the finances of the city, have a better understanding of what all it takes. But just me.
Like I said, I'm happy where I'm at. I like what I'm doing, but if you're gonna switch us around, I would like to see more on the financial side. But then like for Sean's.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say that I love having that institutional knowledge, and I would challenge all of y'all to come in there and sit Sean when you sign those checks and go through those
Right.
and learn some more of that.
Yeah.
When I was on council, I spent some time in finance and you kind of build institutional knowledge, learning to make sure that and questioning that, oh, we just paid this last year, what's the deal with this? And I appreciate that institutional knowledge it brings on that. With these appointments, you know, Andrew reached out and said that he would like to look at something else, and that's where I kind of spurred, like, well, I really hate to
Right.
reappoint somebody over something when Andrew wants to look into a different department. Like I know Donnie spent a lot of time on the parks and those things, and I'm happy to pull him away from that. We spent a lot of time digging into the fire. So I really want to open that up and challenge everybody to expand that a little bit more. And even though you have appointments, don't let that restrict you of where you're digging in. You know, and maybe that's just your voice coming forward for that department. Like Andrew, you've been over water, and that's your voice coming forward of that. But don't let that hold you back of digging into parks, digging into fire, going down there and hanging out.
Right.
Because ultimately they report all,
True,
right?
true.
So don't let the appointments restrict you of where you feel like that you can go and go to City Hall and ask about finances and go sit up there with Sean and sign checks and go through those on a weekly basis. I think that that's good for everybody to expand themselves outside of what your appointments are.
But I will say, also feel that in some areas there's a set of, I guess, a amount of responsibility, and what he does is, I feel like it's a little more than, and I would like to take on a little more responsibility, more than, guys, how you doing? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we answer those questions. They come forward to the entire council. I need this, as far as equipment. We make those decisions. But with what Sean does, I feel like there's a little more responsibility to that.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday has to sign checks. I would just like to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why I asked. Not to saying I'm gonna take your job, because I know it's a lot of work to get names on the bank list, et cetera, for signers. But that's the only reason why I even inquired about it. So.
No, I appreciate you reaching out about it, but I think it's a good opportunity to have that conversation, start spending time in anything that you want, and really go to things that you don't want. Check it all out.
Yeah.
And I have certainly benefited from the different groups that I've worked with. You know, what their needs are, as far as equipment is one part, but also just, maybe employment. You know, do we need more people? Do we need less people? You know, things that, that you would only know if you work with that department. And getting to know a department is pretty interesting. You know, switching from water to fire, you know, to police, you know, it's a good thing, and we should know more about each one of them. I agree, but when you deep dive in with them and you get to understand their day-to-day work, then that brings some knowledge that you know, an assistant principal wouldn't have. You know.
Okay.
And I appreciate the opportunity to do those things.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? All right, next let's move on to annual reappointments. We have A through K running through the city manager, city clerk, public works director, police chief, fire chief, code enforcement, magistrate judge, city solicitor, city engineer, city attorney, and city accountant. Would anyone like to talk on any of these appointments? If you would, we could go, you know, if it's something that you would like to call for executive session, we can do that.
Yes, I'd like to discuss the executive session.
Very good. Next, let's move on to discussion of insurance proposals. Mark,
All right. Unfortunately, Aetna is getting out of the local government insurance. 'Cause I know y'all have them too. When's y'all's renewal date?
July 1. I didn't know that.
So we expire with them on January 31st. So we went through, I know some of this can be hard to see. Every one of these is a different company, with the first one being what we have with Aetna. In your booklet, you will see Aetna and their proposed level health goal 5,000, which is on here. And we have not met with the city employees. We have it scheduled for Friday.
who is what level go?
This is just another company that's out there.
That's an insurance company.
Yes. What's key to it is, this plan is triggered toward Northeast Georgia Medicals. When you use Northeast Georgia Medical physicians, you're going to have a zero deductible. But if you go to Northside, you're going to have outside deductible to pay. So it shows on here that it's a $5,000 deductible in level government, and $10,000 if it was a family. There's only one other person, I believe, that has a spouse and no children on our current health insurance. So it's all just the employees. In this one, When you compare the two columns side by side, the deductible is 5,000, but it will be 0 if you use Northeast Georgia. With Aetna, it's 2,000 for the individual. Your primary care physicians is $25 with Aetna and $25 on this new plan. Your specialty care physician is $75 with Aetna and $50. Your deductible for your tier 1 medication is 0 with the new plan. It is $3 to $10. Tier 2 is $45 with Aetna, $25 with the level health. And then tier 3 is $75 and $55. And what's going to be different about this is you have the health, you have 2 plans in here. And it's one, it's tier 1, which is the Northeast Georgia side, it's called Health Partners. And if you have to go outside of that, it's called First Health. And all this will be going over with the employees, and hopefully on Friday. If not, it may move to Monday or Tuesday. But when you get something, it's a new type of concept, and Sean can even experience, comment about this. He and I went through this today with his professional job, and this is the same type, up and coming type plan. If you work within this system, it will be much cheaper for you. Now, the other part that is excellent, because the city pays 100% of the employee's coverage. Right now, with Aetna, for the 12 months, $32,000 was our total expense. With the new plan, round number is going to be $25,000. And it is going to be cheaper when you take the employee rate with the new plan is $733, Aetna's is $942. Then when you take when you add a spouse, it is going to save you almost $400 a month with the new plan to have a spouse. Like I said, there's only one spouse that's on our plan right now. And I know that fire, maybe police too, when they were doing some hiring, when the new employee would get negative on our employee costs, he lost several folks because of the family package. So we didn't get those. And this goes into effect February 1st. And again, Brett Fowler of Turnwood Smith will be here for that meeting. Unfortunately, he's flying back from vacation today. But we had a total of 7 options. We had Alliant, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Level Health, Cigna, and that's who we had so much trouble with 2 years ago, was with Cigna and all the prescriptions. And then there's a UNC and Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield. So he compared every one of those, and that's the ones that we made a decision, to go forward with as the #1 recommendation.
Yes.
What is the prescription drug plan through?
Anyhow, tell me what you're asking.
Well,
and I hear your question.
Health Partners does not have a prescription drug plan. So,
Well, it's Level Health, but then you fall under, you have to go under, make a choice, or you stay under Health Partners or going under First Health. Now, my deductibles for tier 1 is 0. So I'm not quite sure how I can answer that question. The deductibles are much better.
I mean, did you just verify that local pharmacies, national pharmacies will accept?
Pharmacy benefits here, generic drugs are 0 cost. For the brand name is 25, for the non-preference brand is 55, and for a specialty drug is $200. Level Health, we partnered with Integra to provide pharmacy benefit experience. Are you familiar with them?
Okay. No, I'm not familiar with them, but that answers my question.
Okay, because
Well, none of the prescription, none of those.
that's gonna be a national company.
It's gonna be national. You want national on that, because it opens up more choices, more places you can go.
So,
Like we're eliminating all CVS and Walgreens and.
No.
Well, huh?
No, I don't think they.
we're not doing that.
No, I'm just meaning in general, all the small.
Yeah, all the pharmacies.
The locals are,
local
yes,
pharmacies
are
are
struggling,
closed.
yes. And if somebody like we had to, unfortunately, fortunately, we didn't have any issues whatsoever that we're aware of about the pharmacies, prescriptions like we did with Cigna. So, correct, we didn't have any of that. And so I've been assured that this should be as seamless as that was. Now, the first time you may have to get authorized approval through your doctor sending that. That's the biggest thing that the employees are going to hear. If you know, not that they can get an additional prescription filled until it's that time, but they can at least go ahead and have that sent in, because they'll start the sign-ups so that we click on February 1st. They already have the cards and things of that sort. Because that was the other thing with Cigna, they look like junk mail. So most people just tossed it, didn't open it. But again, Aetna, we didn't have that problem. So we are recommending the change, and again, it's level health, and it's going to be an either or type deal. Because, you know, in Hall County, you can't go to a north side in Hall County. Now, we can, but they can't go, they have to go to Cumming if they live in Hall County with an employer with this plan. Because they're competing, Northeast Georgia competes directly, head to head, in Hall County. So under this plan, it is curtailed for you to use Northeast Georgia.
But they have the option.
They have the option.
It's just gonna be out of pocket, more out
You
of
would
pocket
have to pay
costs.
that minimum deductible. If you use their doctors, you don't. This is the wave of the future, the way it's explained. You even commented about that today, that this is some newer technology and newer ways with the health insurance. And there are also less companies out there.
Where we don't have children all in our homes. They can go to children's health. We don't have any.
I asked that question about children providers. I mean, if someone had to use a children provider for this, health partners, there's no, there's no pediatric specialist anybody has except for CHOA. So,
And then that's when you would fall under.
yeah, and the same thing.
deduction of that.
Same thing for like endocrinologists. We don't have any endocrinologists under health partners. Yeah, if someone wanted to go to endocrinologist, they'd have to go to a diagnostic clinic, but they would still be able to get covered. They would have more out-of-pocket costs with this, but they wouldn't be restricted. Would pay.
One of my questions, Mark, when we first started talking about this, is this gonna restrict coverage to the employees, and you worked it out, where this does not?
There should be, it all should be seamless, just like it has been, other than problems we had, because Humana got out, and that's why we picked to go with Cigna 3 years ago.
Do y'all allow questions? Can I ask a question? Mr. Mayor. What is the difference in the plan you're talking about and the next one, Alliance? The annual cost to it.
Yeah, let me tell you. So, all right,
You said 25,000 something for the plan you're looking at.
that's for all the employees'
Right.
costs. Now, if you want, let's just say, guys, if y'all wanted to open up and offer mayor and council to have the right to do health insurance, but y'all pay for your own, you would do that. And what it would cost you for you and a spouse, it would be $1,486 a month. And if you wanted an employee and a child, it's $1,344. And if you wanted an employee, a spouse, and a child, it's $2,160 a month. So if one of y'all wanted it for you and your spouse, you would pay $1,485.88 a month.
I think he was asking about total cost.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I was gonna ask that next, but the difference in cost in the.
Oh, in my
y'all
head.
looked at, No, 25,000 in the company you're recommending
Yes.
Friday, and the next one, the Alliant, did you have an annual cost for the employees? I mean, I'm talking about the total, you said it was 25,000 for all the
Right, our
employees.
total cost for the current,
No, for Alliant, if you were to go with Alliant,
I don't know what Alliant, Alliant right there.
yeah,
That is, total cost for that one for the city is $24,057. And, level health is $24,945. And the current with Aetna is $32,000. And we've got quotes all the way up to $43,000, $48,000, $57,000.
right.
But again, there's a question if y'all want to add the ability for council and mayor. You don't have to decide today, but it's something we would have to.
I think as far as like total cost goes, I think what he's saying is that the amount
Right.
that the plan that's being suggested to us is comparable on the lower cost level of the other ones.
It's a 22% savings.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we do get with Aetna is we do get a refund at the end of the year. We get depending on how much claims they have to pay out.
Your lost basis ratio.
That's correct. At this point today, this was done in October. The gross amount saved at this point is $55,000. If that's the case, we would get half of that back, but we still got to count November and December. So this is probably a March or April that we would still get this money back. This new company with proposed level health does not.
When you compare side by side Alliant for out of network, if you're somewhere and you have to go to the hospital, has no out of pocket maximum. It's wide open. Out of pocket maximum on level health is $12,000.
Yes.
The deductible on level health is $6,000. The deductible on Alliant is $20,000.
So you make that choice, yeah.
Yeah. And again, we could have gone all the way up to 57,000, but as we consulted with Brett Fowler and Megan and I, this is how we went through that.
Sounds good.
Anthem, out of pocket. Yeah, they're deductible $40.
Good Lord.
So it looks like that's the best option for the employees.
And unfortunately, unless I printed it off like this, you wouldn't be able to see anything. I know it's hard enough to see it on here, but if anybody wants to see this, they're welcome to look at this.
And with those other companies, I mean, you're restricted to who they're negotiated for as far as in-network at that time. And you know that health systems can go in-network or out-of-network at any point, such as we've got people that now have insurance here, not in the city, but other companies that are having to go to Northside to get their care, just because that's the closest in-network they have with their insurance.
So right now, is your proposal that we go with level health?
Yes, correct.
Okay, what else you have?
All right, the next one is for vision. And we have another provider that is separate, which is Lincoln. And Aetna does offer vision, but we did not go that route with them. We went with this other because through the Lincoln, it also gives you other things, which I'll explain in a second. So we decided you would want Lincoln, Aetna Vision, and then Level Health as for 3 providers. Because anything with Aetna is going to be confusing. So we dropped that proposal, and we're recommending the Lincoln for the vision and then the other part that Lincoln will provide. I'll talk about it 2 different ways. Will be life, short-term disability, long-term, and dental. With the package on vision, first with Lincoln. It is $10 exam fees, $10 materials, copay, $130 allowance. They're also guaranteeing these rates for 2 years, so that would be 25, 26, and 27. in the Lincoln Vision Connect plan partners with Spectra, who provides a national vision network with over 100,000 around. So, and that one will cost the city, for the 34 folks, $273 a month. That's what we have today. Now, so you will have the option, these are all numbered. So the health insurance is number 1, the vision is number 2, and then when you go to the Lincoln one that looks like this, that would be plan number 3. And all this would all go into effect on February 1st.
How much was the vision fund?
$273 a month for all the employees.
Oh, not.
Not in vision, no.
And you have vision now.
Yes. And we have life, short-term, long-term, and dental. That's, so those policies with Lincoln in number 2 and number 3, there's nothing changed there other than the new date, start date of February 1st.
Oh, right. Does it change?
Let's see. On the on the vision, it actually is going down from $690 a month per employee to $648. And a lot of people are not going to know the name of the carrier being Lincoln, but obviously their provider with Spectra in that they do. So they have over 100,000 locations. The rate for the dental is $25 a person. And then it's got the same tier with the employee and a spouse, et cetera, through that one. And the current monthly plan that we have right now is $268, and the renewal plan is $268.45. So they have kept these prices. You see it on this chart. You see it on this chart. So when you look at the bottom of this, you go down, and you will see the current monthly price, renewal price, and the percentage of change is all 0. And they're keeping this also for another year. The dental, the vision is going for 2 years. This one is going for the 1 year. And all this starts February 1st.
And the city covers all of this.
Yes,
Okay.
just for employees. And it's something, again, for y'all to think about, that y'all could pay each month. Y'all want to. So I just throw that out there, because that'd be something y'all would have to vote on to make that change. And the 4th one is our workers' comp policy. And this actually expired 12/31/2024, but the insurance has covered us since we were recommending this. So when y'all approve it tonight, they'll just be backdating that policy. And so we went over that. So Megan had to take each employee, how many firemen there are, how many police, how many water and sewer, streets, administrative, and put down the total amounts of the salaries of each of those, or what their pay is for that year, because they base that upon percentage. Obviously, a fireman and police are going to cost more for workers' comp than administrative jobs. And if you're in the water and sewer, there's going to be some risk associated with those type jobs. So our renewal policy is $53,861. And that starts from January 1st to 12/31/25. And we paid right at $49,000. And so they have gone up on this one, but this is the best one out of the quotes there. So again, you have 4 policies or products for y'all to vote on. Number 1 is health. 2 was vision. 3 was the life, disability, short and long, and dental.
Do we have any workers' comp claims last year?
I'm not aware of any. Were you, Megan?
Workers' comp. No, we filed one, but it wasn't a work.
Yes. Police officer had some accident. So, it came out okay on that. Now, what's not in here is our general liability, and that one also is February 1st. And, they're running behind, this is the one that we got Tokyo Marine. And, so hopefully I'll have it next week. We may have to do a special call meeting for that one, and then depending on where we fall, just in case we may do another House Bill 581 public meeting, where we might can do that there. So that one is the last one for all the renewals.
Very good. Was that all the proposals, Mark?
That is it.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment to the council concerning the insurance matters y'all were just discussing. Could I do that now, or could I bring that up on item 8 when it comes up?
You bring it up.
Gentlemen, I'm not here just for this, but I knew it was gonna be on the agenda. But y'all all know I served for years on the council. And we found it in over many years that we couldn't hire firemen, policemen, many times because we didn't have a plan back then that would cover spouses or children. And I would encourage you gentlemen to look at that. Number 2, I would encourage you gentlemen to look at offering it at whatever the cost the city pays. If a council member or somebody runs for office and was elected in the future, that also has been a problem for even say some young people that had families that wanted to run. We heard that for many years that they couldn't get insurance, needed insurance, and it's been talked about for years. And I appreciate your manager, Mr. Musselwhite, looking into that. And I think it would give another edge for somebody that's wanting to run for office. Say, look, it's available, you're going to pay for it. Not going to cost the citizens not one dime. It'd be a good thing for you to offer, in conjunction offering it to employees if they have spouses need coverage, they're going to pay for it. And if somebody runs and is elected, and if they need it, you're going to pay for it. It's available. I highly encourage my brothers here to think about that tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll say that I'm self-employed, I pay for my own insurance, and it's much higher than that. So it's a good negotiating price. All right, any other discussion on insurance? Favorite topic. All right, next is discussion of proposal of upgrades to the city shop.
I will tell y'all that in our budget for 2025, we had that listed under Brian's area there under small projects, and we had $68,000 listed for this improvement. Y'all can read Brian's comments, but basically, for our service department of our city vehicles, we really don't have a normal garage situation. They pull the vehicles into the warehouse of the main building that's totally enclosed. We do not have the floor jacks. We're just using other jacks. What this does, if you're looking at the main building, and we've got the building to the left that has 5 or 6 open bays. He wants you to close the end one closest to Brian's end of his office. And have Mark be able to service the vehicles in there, and I'll go over the different expenses as we get there, but he would actually be already poured the concrete slab and drains for water, drain or anything else like that. And so that he can do those and do them safer and out of everybody else's way, where he would have the doors to lock that up in there. So I do recommend this, and because we do save some serious money with the police and everybody's cars and trucks being serviced. So if you take a picture, you've got the 2 pictures of the bay. We got a bid from Superior Electrical. And their bid was $13,000. We did get a bid for MPE, and theirs was $18,000. And he told Brian he had cut it to the bare bones to get it to 18,000. So we were recommending to go with Superior. The contractor bid is $25,500. And it says in here, will provide all material labor to construct this enclosed area in accordance with the above mentioned specs and terms. And then the next bid, there's two bids for a floor jack. The first one is a 14,000 pound jack lift at round numbers 9,400, and the other one is 18,000 for basically 12,000. Brian got both, but he is happy with the first one, being the 14,000 pound lift. So all that totals up to $69,560. So I'm $1,560 over budget. And but we're recommending going ahead and doing this with those numbers, and we will obviously make up that $1,500 under another line item.
So to do the work itself, you only can have one bid? I mean, as far as closing in that end,
You gotta frame up the inside walls
like,
and the ceiling, and then just to roll up garage doors, just like they have on the front of the other warehouse building.
okay, and you only have one bid, right? Miles?
He had another bid, but this one was the cheaper one, the one he wanted to go with.
I'm seeing about $85,000-$90,000.
All right, well, let's do my math here. Now, did you take out both jacks?
There's two bids for electrical.
Yeah, 18,000 was MPE's bid. We're not going with that bid, we're going with the 13,000.
Marcus wanted it in there to show that he received bids on it.
It puts it at 67,000. Okay, all right. I was confused.
Sorry.
No.
And again, it's a $14,000 jack.
With $11,000.
It's a
14,000.
It's the 14,000 pounds and the $9,400, the first bid in there.
Okay. There's two jacks in here. What's the difference in
One's at 14,000 and the other one's at 18,000.
Which one are they?
He wants the 14,000, which is the $9,400.
Oh, he only wants the 14,000.
So he's not gonna be lifting the dump truck, he's not gonna be lifting the fire truck.
Okay.
It puts that total at almost $68,000.
I'll check my math too.
$67,878.
And that's with us going to pick it up, I see.
Yep, we have to go pick it up,
Where did we build the budget for that?
68,000.
Okay. That puts it on budget.
So.
Yeah, puts it at $67,878. So right on what you had budgeted, right on those items. Okay. Any other further discussion? All right. Next, let's move on to proposal of development service fees.
Or is it?
I'm sorry.
LMIG.
Yeah.
Yeah. LMIG, we have been approved for 2025 for $36,755.31 from GDOT with a 30% match. That 30% match is $11,027 for a total amount of $47,782. And again, last year we had this this LMIG with a 30% match, and then we had the additional LMIG for zero match on that one. And that one, the first time was roughly 37,000. The second one was right at 48,000 with no match. And the streets that Brian has measured is, the first picture you'll see is Chestnut Street, which is over there near the cross field, and coming back up to Florida Street right there at Laurel. So that's very alligator up and in rough shape, coming around that curve there. The next one is Walnut Street to Holly, and that's 175 feet on that section there. And the third one is at the intersection of Holly and Pine, and there's been a lot of alligator right there. That's that one, everybody kept thinking he had a water leak at that valve there. And, but it's when they build the street down, they'll be able to fix that valve there. They gotta hit it just right to get it to close, then it takes about a week for it to seal itself off.
Sure.
So, yeah, yeah. So all that adds up to $1,568. $1,568 total feet. And if y'all approve this, we'll get the paperwork sent in, we'll get these pictures sent out to various contractors to give us a bid on this. And if there's extra money, we'll think of some additional streets. But from the past charges, this is kind of how many feet he thinks he can get for that range. The company we've used the last 3 years has been Precision, and they pretty much have locked in, have not changed their price the last 2 years. It's been pretty much the same per foot cost in that. So we did get another company out of Claremont that came by called Riles Asphalt. So we've got at least found some others. Most people don't want to bid against Precision because they feel like they're wasting their time.
Does Al Thomason still bid with y'all? Al Thomason out of Tacoma?
He did up until about 3 years ago.
Really? He used to do all of that.
And I think that's where Precision has come in with their pricing. And they do like Clarksville and some of the others, and he'll pretty much keep his prices the same. And they did downtown, on Georgia Street too. All that. So,
What's the cost to the city on this project?
$11,000. That's the 30% match. And our range has been roughly 37,000 for the last 3 years from GDOT.
Was there a conversation with partner?
Yeah, we did meet. The county had asked, did any of the cities want to pool all their, not their money, their project together to see if we could get a cheaper price, so that they then would have, remember how many cities, they would have the quotes, and the city of Demorest would, here's your quote, here's your quote, here's your quote, you pay them, you do your thing, being a bigger job. We met, and that's the other thing, they want to get everybody's approval on this, to see if we can put it out there.
But you're still.
We're still, because we gotta get this approved first. Now, there's some
You
question,
gotta approve the project.
approve LBIG first. And then we can send that to them, being, hey, throw this in there, but we also will get our own bid
So
too.
this will come back to the council, but it's
Yes,
Okay. And that's usually June, right?
we'll do it before then,
Okay.
because we're gonna be trying to do this, May or April, somewhere in there, early spring, before it gets really too hot for them.
Okay.
So that is another option, but we're not gonna be tied to the process with the county. Again, it's just gathering information. Is it a bigger price for the amount of work? But one thing that, we talked about in that meeting with, Jerry Baggett was they really gotta have, traffic control when you're doing these county projects, being on these major highways and so forth, where Precision hasn't had to do much traffic control in these areas like we require. They may not be able to do those bigger projects because of that.
Very good. Any other further discussion? All right, move on to discussion of proposal of development service fees.
Guys, this is a continuation of our land use ordinance and underwriting of what we do with our zoning. I will tell you that this is Jessie Owenby, who has her own LLC who does work for the city of Cornelia, and, she is allowed, I'm not getting into the logistics of her agreement with the city of Cornelia, but she is allowed to do this type of work as a private company on the side. Now, she and I met, and she is known very, very well around the state for having her information with land uses, zoning, et cetera. So if you go to the first page, what you turn in, she's kind of got a objective to create a strategic plan. We heard that a couple of weeks ago from yes, Brooke Roberts said everybody needs a strategic plan. And so that's something which is more of a highway of making a plan of where you're going. So you can see the opportunities. There'll be public meetings for folks to come and speak to when she holds these, just like we did with Thomas, roundtable discussions to see. You can see all the different proposals in here that she's talking. She's got some timelines in here, things that she is going to strategize with, deliver the information to us. And if you go up to the third one, it's got a project start date. And it's got some milestones all along the way. So this could take 19 to 20 weeks of doing this. Because it's gonna be a lot of, she's gonna go through our new land use, make sure we don't have any issues that could, make things confusing from that side. And she wants to do a retreat where we talk about it. So really, we'll be discussing later on 2 different retreat dates. One is for water and sewer, and that's one that Fletcher has asked for. Last year, we did it combined. Fletcher ran out of time for us to keep on track for that day. So I do think there is some good things that come out of that. And again, expected results, a couple pages back. You can read through those. And it also says on the pricing what's included. And down at the bottom of that last page there is a cost of $10,000. Or you can pay her to work $95 per hour. I would propose that we do the flat fee and with Jesse's. Now, one thing that's different between hers and EMI's is it's something else that we need from somebody like EMI is your design standards. We need to know minimum standards that we could approve to do a subdivision, a commercial retail center. Here's the minimum of what you have to be able to do. Whether it's storm drains, here's our water, here's our sewer, here's how you build your streets, here's how you build your sidewalks, street lights, all those things. So, and that's more of what you'll see in EMI's proposal, because it gets into water and wastewater standards, storm sewer infrastructure, streets and roads, subdivisions on commercial properties. And he has going through this, which is totally 2 different projects. And Fletcher's is at $18,500. And the benefits of doing these design standards is it will position the city of Denver for sustainable growth, improved infrastructure quality, and enhanced quality of life. Because right now, if somebody wants to come in, you approve them to build a subdivision. There's some things out there that we're not covering from these design standards. But if you're not covering them, guess what? How are you going to enforce it? And the other part of this is, what we'll talk about after this one, is the development and fee schedules that we got to do. And that's something, in Jesse's proposal is what I'm recommending at this point in time. That's something else we will work through, is the fees, the applications, for anybody who wants to come in the city and do that. Where we could have all these online, you can print out. Here again, if somebody wants to do an application for rezoning, I've got this in here, we'll talk about that too. So, at this point in time, I recommend Jesse's proposal. And I recommend that we table EMI at this point in time, because we need to go back and fine tune his, because his, I've just gotta get him, we gotta get that price down, because I know what he needs, and this is not like for a lot of discussions with a lot of meetings on design standards, because there's other cities, the county, Gainesville, Hall County, they all have these. And that's how you make sure you don't have issues with, Habersham Meadows with those private streets that are falling apart. Because there was no, at that time, there probably was no inspections. There may not have been approval, how they got the streets approved through the city at that point in time. We alleviate any of that. Somebody wants to come in, here is the quality of what you have to do. Just,
Does Jesse's cover the water and stormwater?
see, it does not, because that's not,
I mean, I thought that's very important.
well, it is, but see, that's why these proposals are totally different. That's why I'm saying we need what he is doing in EMI to discuss those.
We need to just pick those out of there and take them separately.
Correct. That's what I want to do with him, is table it, come back, or you don't have to vote on it at all. I can get back with Fletcher to let him change his. I sent both of these with the prices blackened out for Fletcher to see hers and for her to see Fletcher's. And I didn't get anything back from Fletcher's, and she acknowledged that EMI's is totally something different, and that is her expertise, because that is going to take you an engineer with these design standards. And that's what we have here. Because Fletcher doesn't have somebody on staff like they used to, who could do the zoning and these things like that. And so that's where they're totally different from their expertise between the two.
And with our land use that we just passed, this would be another layer on top of that to protect the city and watch everything. So most municipalities already have these in place. And this was something that we talked about at the retreat. We talked about when we were hiring Thomas to put together this, that we knew that we would have to find someone.
Because again, Thomas's was only about the ordinances.
Sure.
He was not about these other details. Like I said, we got a 3-step deal that we gotta do to totally get this up there. Really, it was 4, because we had to do the land use map along with the land use ordinances. So, this is the only way we protect ourselves for the citizens and their property, is to have the correct ordinances in place.
You remember what you budgeted for this?
I wanna say that we were in the $15,000 range in this year's budget.
Okay. I think I remember something about what they were.
Yeah. Because we had the budget last year for Thomas, and it was roughly 41,000, I believe, with that. So we had 48,000 budgeted in planning and zoning for that.
So there is gonna be, even though if we do approve this contract, there's gonna be need for public involvement,
Absolutely.
outside involvement in this to get this done.
It will be just the part that Jesse will do. There will be several meetings for that. Because again, if we're coming in here to discuss the size of a water and sewer, unless you're a builder, an engineer, what is it gonna say? They think you need to have a 12-inch as opposed to 18-inch pipe. It just doesn't mean the same, and that's where you try to get some builder developers to review some of this too. I don't know how many we had that live in the city to do that, but that's how you got to review those. Because are we overstepping our boundaries with those minimum requirements? And that's what you don't want to do. It's got to be a happy medium in there.
Y'all have any questions about these proposals in front of you?
The other part that's in front of y'all too, if you'll go back to the development and permit fee schedule, I had to get some permit numbers on paper. Because if somebody does come in here with a project in the city, I've got to have, let's just say it is a convenience store. I've got to have Fletcher or somebody else, engineer, to review and redline those plans. I got to have somebody there to do that. That's not something I can do.
Sure.
But I can do the part with our zoning ordinances with Thomas. So I just kind of had to make up some numbers at this point in time They could be higher or lower once we go through this process. Because I need something to give, at least to say, hey, you gotta give me, because we have everything they have to do for any of these items for the ordinance. So when they come in here, you'll see the next page is the rezoning, special use, and annexation application. We didn't have anything like that. We had to get this created. We haven't had anybody ask. We've had somebody ask to do a variance, so we can make that one simple for that. But if you take this zoning application, it's a lot, several pages, and you've got to answer questions. There's like 13, 14 questions you got to answer about your project. Does it meet standards? You've got to have the applicant's certification or the property owner, because Andrew, you may own the property, but Sean wants to get it rezoned. You got to have you as the owner giving Sean the right to file this application. You're not the applicant. You're just acknowledging that you're giving that.
Right.
Conflict of interest. Yes, if there's people that gave y'all contributions to your campaign of more than $250, there's a form you gotta fill out with that. Even if they didn't, they just gotta say, no, they didn't.
Where did this form come from?
Do what?
Where did this form come from?
Thomas, Heather, Megan, and I. So these are just standard, we had them, we looked at some, and we just kind of put them together from other cities and counties.
I'll say I've seen these forms in other cities.
And on the back here is the application checklist. Legal descriptions, the application, boundary survey, site plans, letter of intent and narrative, explanation of how this proposal furthers the goals of the comprehensive plan. Application fees, letter concerning the availability of water and sewer. For annexation, there's a couple other things, and if need be, a traffic study. And then there's a part in here about annexation, property owners, signatures, et cetera, with that. So,
The only thing I see in here that I have a problem with is on the application checklist,
okay,
is the site plan drawn by a professional designer.
okay,
I think the site plan is drawn out just on a general plat for something simple, there's no need for,
well, let's just take, for instance,
for a single family house to draw out a site plan.
well, we would be approving the plans of a house.
It says in the checklist.
Well, where did it say that about the house?
Back a few pages back on the residential.
All right, let's go to it. But the city is not trying to approve a house plan. Now, what we would be looking at, there's folks here about the same street and the site plan that was just hand drawn, that's been out there. You say you wanted a minimum of that, or you want it showing,
No, I just didn't want it to restrict somebody else to get a professional site plan on a single family house.
but if you're looking at the site plan that may or may not give you dimensions, or heights, or landscaping plan, or just anything like that.
No, we would do that
Right,
for reselling.
right? But that's part of this process here.
Okay.
Because they have to fill all this info and give us this so we know exactly what y'all are looking for, what the public is looking for.
Okay.
So we can change that if y'all like, but it could be somebody just draws it on a napkin.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not gonna give you a lot of info.
But this would only be for reselling.
Or annexations.
Okay.
We could, but if somebody comes in the meantime, I don't have anything to give them.
Yeah. Or we can modify it later. Like with anything, I want to keep everything a working document.
Right.
You know, we need-
Oh, I agree with that, absolutely. Because Heather, for Thomas, one of his legal assistants, is excellent. She used to be the city clerk at Pula. And so she has excellent knowledge in helping us maneuver through See, like I said, we don't have any forms of any substance. So you should be able to pull all these up off the website. Because again, talking about the fees, your plans could be so thick, it could cost $5,000 to have an engineer have to review those.
Yeah.
The city's not paying for that, but you can't move forward until I get them approved. You know, there's gotta be the commercial inspector that we don't have. We do the third-party residential for new construction. Those things like that, that we have to inspect the ground up, and then once they're into the building on the commercial projects. So, this again is another layer of getting us totally up to date with this. Because luckily, nothing has come through in so many years, or unlucky that if that's happened, the city would not be prepared to handle that. But we will be.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you for putting that together.
Well,
Next is inmate housing agreement. This is an agreement that we've had with the county for a number of years.
since 2008, when Joey became the sheriff.
Very good. You want to tell us what this agreement is?
Basically, Thomas and I reviewed the document with Casey, talked through it, looked at the original document from back then, but because we have a new sheriff, this has to go into effect. Now, as I talked to the sheriff the other day, I said, no, Sheriff, this new agreement goes into effect 1/1/25. We won't meet until 1/7/25. He says, you're fine. We're under the same scenario. A couple things. We do not pay. It's an excellent agreement for the city. We do not pay to house the citizens, the inmates, per se, a per day cost. We pay a percentage of our fines and forfeitures in our magistrate court. There's several different places that we pay. Roughly it's 10% for one section. We'll go through that. The biggest thing that Thomas and I talked about, if you look at page 3 of 11, being number 4, and we've got some clarification, because it says, the city of Demorest shall be responsible for any and all medical, dental, or health-related services, treatments, and medication provided to any city of Demorest inmates. But to me, I was thinking, okay, what if they get in a fight or something happens to them while they're in there? And this has been clarified as if we bring them in with an injury, then we would have to take them to the hospital. But if they get injured once they're inside the jail, the county pays for that. That was the only part that I had an issue with that. But once we got additional information, only if our police officers, something happens to that person that they're arresting, we would have to pay for that. Now, since 2008, nobody can remember a time when that has happened. So, look at a couple of pages, talk about they can refuse, we have transport, go to number 7 of 11, number 9. The parties hereby agree that the city of Demorest shall impose an additional penalty of 10% for any offenses committed within the city of Demorest. This penalty shall be applied to any monies owed by the city of Demorest for services rendered to this agreement. The city of Demorest shall pay the county all sums collected. The county shall deposit the sums for jail fund, for constructing, operating, and staffing. So when Sean and I signed checks at about 12 o'clock on Tuesday, I want to say, Sean, we're probably signing 4 to 5 checks that's going to the sheriff, that's going to the board of commissioners, and other county-related items. So that's how, once we take the person to the jail and Habersham County accepts them, we're done. And it's on the county at that point in time. So, it talks about the different things going through that this is set up through December 31st, 2028, because that's the end of Robin's first term. And then there's a place, and Megan has the original signature where Casey has already signed the original, where the mayor and Megan has to sign, and then we'll deliver this to the county.
This is pretty identical to
Yes,
what we've had.
other than changing the names. Same percentage amounts. And it's only being brought back up because we have a new sheriff. He has to have this agreement with all the municipalities. And by the way, I didn't tell you at the beginning, Thomas had a court case, but he is a stand. If we needed to call him, y'all wanted to ask him a question. So maybe you can get him on the phone. And he will be here Monday for our meeting.
Right. So in that medical and other services, it does talk about, who's responsible, but then it talks about delivery, the ones that make delivery of someone, and that person has been signed into custody, then the applicant's responsibility. Any questions about that? All right. I guess that's everything for the work session,
I'm talking.
Yeah, let's take a minute. You want to make a motion to go into the executive session and then talk on this? When we go.
And he couldn't be tied up now, so we'll need to check his schedule.
Well, he said it goes in at 7.
Yeah.
I was in your court and stuff. Thomas?
He has a hearing that starts at 7. But I can just go there.
Send him a text and we'll.
Do you lawyers ever sleep? All you ever? Yeah.
So courts meet at 9 now, this is crazy.
Wow.
Not cool.
They were Cleveland, they said,
The court's been at night, city of Cleveland.
I don't know,
Oh, wow.
city of Atlanta meets at 9.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a 5-minute recess and then we'll get it up.
So we're gonna go into executive.
We got to text him.
We have a second to come out of the things. All those in favor to come out of executive session? All right, y'all pray with me. Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here this evening. We ask that you bless us, watch over us. I ask that you watch over all of our family and our loved ones. And ask that you watch over us as we discuss the city. We ask that you remind us that we are a community and a community that we love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Stand and pray. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first is the approval of the agenda. Since this is a special call session, we can't add anything, but y'all have anything you would like to immediately take off? Or entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as is.
Thank you, sir. A second?
Second.
All those in favor? Very good. Next is our favorite part, appearance and public comment. If you have a public comment, please step to the podium.
As you look at
You
me,
don't have anything.
again, the same question is, has anybody filed any paperwork, submitted any application for that lot that Johnny Gunn has?
Did you get my reply today?
Yes, I did, and I wanted to make sure we put it on the record. As
No
a-
conversations, nobody to see me, nobody for anything.
So nobody has even called in regard to it. All right. It makes several people here happy.
Sure.
Any other public comments? All right. Approval of the minutes, there was that, gentlemen. Please make your motion as you review those. Please make your motion after you review them.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from December.
Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward? Yes. Next is council reappointments. Every January, from the start of the mayor gets to appoint council members to look over each department. We talked about during the work session that make sure that even though you're over a department, you're not contributing to that department. Please, council, go out and question everybody, spend some time in every department, look into everything. I appreciate everybody's work and hard work that you've spent in your departments over the past year. And with that being said, I would love to keep those the same as that we've had in the past. So keeping Andrew over water and sewer, keeping Sean over finance, keeping Donnie over this park and the cemetery, and Jimmy, you over the police and fire. I would also like to keep Sean over signing the checks, and like to make Tommy and Mayor Pro Tem as we move along. With those recommendations, I would like to call those for a vote at the council, for a vote to approve those.
Make a motion to approve the schedule.
Thank you. We have a second. Thank you. All those in favor to move forward with those? Thank you, guys. Thanks for your hard work on those. Next is annual reappointments. We'll run through these one by one. The first one is the city manager, Mark Musselwhite. We need a motion to approve moving forward with that reappointment.
I'll make a motion that we approve Mark Musselwhite as the city manager.
Thank you. We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor to move forward, Mr. Musselwhite? Thank you, guys. City Clerk, Megan Chastain, do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward? Next is Public Works Director, Brian Popham. We have a motion to move forward. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Next is Police Chief, Casey Chastain. Do we have a motion to move forward?
Make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All those in favor, move forward. Next, we'll group these together as far as Fire Chief and Code Enforcement is Dave Short. Do we have a motion to move forward with Fire Chief and Code Enforcement on the three appointments?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. Next is Magistrate Judge and Judge Sneed. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
He's on a roll.
I know. Next is Magistrate Judge is Judge Sneed. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? Next is City Solicitor Joe Hudson. Do we have a motion to move forward with that appointment?
Make that motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? Next is City Engineer is EMI. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with EMI. Next is City Attorney Thomas Mitchell. Do we have a motion to move forward with that reappointment?
Make the motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward? Next is City Accountant is Ed Burton. Do we have a motion to move forward? Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Very good. Did I miss anyone? Thank you.
Covered everybody.
All right, very good. Next is consideration of insurance proposals. Mark, your first proposal, it is your staff recommendation to move forward with level health, correct? In that motion, does there need to be specific level health?
It is called, Mental Health Goal 5,000.
Gold, 5,000.
With that motion, council, y'all have an opinion to move forward to broad spectrum approve that as far as health, vision. Okay.
They all look,
Lincoln's Vision, Life and Dental.
they all look fine. They give choices to the employee, and they've got two different networks of medical. Vision seems to be a national carrier. Dental looks fine. Disabilities and life insurance as well.
You were talking about Lincoln?
Yeah. So we need a motion to move forward health.
So it's level health goal for health insurance, Lincoln for vision, dental, long-term disability and short-term disability, and Apex Insurance Agency for workers' comp.
Guys, I'm gonna save yourselves and not have to repeat that, so we'll entertain a motion as Megan has stated to move forward with all these proposals that the staff has recommended.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. A second? All those in favor to move forward with this? Thank you. Next is consideration of proposal to upgrade the city shop. These were.
Okay.
But you did, but I couldn't hear you, so, okay.
Next is discussion of city shop as far as closing one of those bays, adding electrical so they can do some car maintenance and their vehicle maintenance, and adding a lift in there so they can do some of that work all in house, which does save us significant money. That total comes to $67,878 even without the change. Which our budget on that was $68,000. Mark is checking the math.
What did you say? What did the amount? I said 60.
$5,878.
I'd say no.
All right.
It's in the budget.
We need a motion to move forward with that, to proceed with that project.
I would like to make that motion to proceed with that project.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second to move forward with that? All those in favor to move forward with that project?
Give Mark a good indoor place to work. Give Mark a good place, indoor.
Next, consideration of the 2025 building funds. The DOT has given us $36,755.31, and we're required to put up 30% to match that. I believe that we have this one through SPOS, correct?
We do, it's $11,027.
Thank you, sir.
Total of 27.
And this is approving, this motion would approve us to move forward with LMIG. This does not approve the contracts or the bids that could come back in front of council. This just approves us to move forward with this. So council, I would entertain a motion to move forward with receiving the new LMIG funds.
Let's restate the names of the roads on the project.
Please state that in your motion, sir.
Well, before we get to the motion.
Yes.
What do we got?
We got Chestnut Street.
Chestnut Street.
It's Chestnut to the intersection of Laurel and Florida. The next one is Walnut Avenue to Holly, running southwest. And then we have the intersection of Holly and Hyde. And all these will be attached with these maps, attachments.
We'll entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve to go forward with element projects as stated for Chestnut, Walnut, and the Holly and Pine intersections.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? Thank you. All those who move forward with those projects in LMIG.
But 100 yards and I wouldn't have to mow my strip.
Next is, two proposals that Mark has out in front of us. Mark, I'll let you pick this up and discuss these and your recommendation for them.
Sure, thank you. We are looking forward with City Enhancement Strategies LLC recommendation for our planning and zoning services that will go through as another step through our land use ordinances and bringing in some definitions and some examples where we will hold public meetings to educate the public about different things that will be happening. It will include looking at our potential fees for development services and reviews, and it will take into account these type of items. The retreat she gave through in her bid there, the objectives and the time frame. Again, it will be roughly 20 weeks from the time of start, and I recommend that, and her cost is $2,000.
Are you saying that the zoning ordinance that was just passed,
It's additional to that.
it's gonna be additional? It's not
Thomas
gonna
just-
be revised, it's just gonna be additional?
This is additional because Thomas didn't take into account all these other things. That wasn't part of his scope of work. So we have another contract proposal to do the development services that will tell you the minimum services for sewer lines, streets, sidewalks, development of a retail center, development of duplexes somewhere, it will go through all those details of what and how it has to do. Because we got into the basic zoning charts, they told you the setback, the height, things of that. Now this is, between these two is more meat on the bone of what we have to have, because we're very limited with this information, because we just haven't, Demorest hadn't had
Right,
these types, or if they did have something, it came in with less inspections, less detail. So this is improving the quality of the projects that could come.
And you're saying that we're gonna have some public hearings in regard to.
So if we do it just like we did on the land use, we'd have roundtable discussions. Jesse would explain the different items that she's looking at.
And will the paperwork that she may submit, will that be available?
Absolutely, we're not all that, will be the same type process.
Okay,
Because like I was saying earlier on the development services of a subdivision, commercial, when somebody, an engineer starts talking about the pipe size or the depth of the retention pond, you see that being, that truly is going to affect the builder and the developer and their cost. We won't have as many public meetings on that because what is it going to mean to you if he comes back and says, this is the standard, this is the minimum? We'll have them, but there'll be more in Jesse's meetings than on those type of development services.
and I also noticed on the zoning ordinance that we have, there's very little applications or forms that's part of it.
That's
Will
where
this
you miss,
also be part of it?
that's where you miss that coming in town, because we got in here the full application for the, rezoning, special use, and annex applications. So that's what they'll be looking to approve that in the initial set of review fees, things of that sort, because with somebody, until we get all this finalized with Jesse's proposal, we have to have some minimum fees. You bring in a commercial set of plans of a convenience store, we cannot review those plans, an engineer has to review those, and you, the applicant, will pay for that.
And in regard to it is with that particular lot, since there's not any application or forms that have been finalized based upon this next hurdle that we cross over for the zoning ordinance, the person who's gonna develop that lot is gonna have to fill out the forms of the application that is forthcoming.
And then we have a checklist, until you fill out everything on the checklist, and Thomas, the city attorney, and myself, we will not be a finalized, received application until everything is handed in, not bits and pieces. If you're missing things, take it back. Don't follow this ordinance.
So that lot development is now still kind of on hold until,
I have no idea what it is.
no, but I mean, if he was able to get any type of information, because I know Johnny
Okay, then we're just
hasn't
approving
showed
the
up.
application and stuff tonight. So all that's dated January 7th, 2025.
Okay,
So yeah,
So, my understanding from the work session, there's 3 different parts of this. You have SEON's proposal as far as looking at a strategic plan, looking at what she's gonna go through with the zoning ordinances that we already have, look at the development standards, and all those things is one side.
That's right.
This. And then we have EMI proposing a different side for $18,000 that you have suggested to table. And then the third proposal, as far as the permit fee schedule, you have in our packets, correct?
that's correct.
Council, with all this in front of us, do y'all have anything you'd like further to discuss on this?
Well, we're gonna table the,
Correct, yes, sir.
it's only doing with the civic enhancement strategies, LLC.
Correct.
And the permits and fees, adopt those as written in the center bill right now.
So we do that as separate.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I guess, make a motion to approve this contract, or
Yes.
the contract services, the civic enhancement strategies at LLC, for proposal for planning and zoning services.
Thank you, sir. We have a second to move forward with this contract? All right, all those in favor to move forward with this contract? Next is a motion to table EMI's proposal until further discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with tabling EMI's proposal? And the third is to adopt the permits and the fee schedule staff has laid out in front of us here in our packets. Fees and applications.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you one quick question?
Yes, sir.
Are these comparable to other municipalities maybe?
You talk about the fees?
Yes.
The fees I took off from other examples, but this is something that in our contract with Jesse, that's, I had to have something for now,
Sure.
because if something does come in,
Yeah, we have nothing.
we have nothing. So we won't be looking through every one of those. They could be higher, they could be less, because just like I was saying as an example, you come in with a commercial project, your plan, role is this big. An engineer's gonna have to engineer, they just gonna have to review that, and they're gonna have to give you an estimated cost for that, because I can't use a,
Yeah.
just a boilerplate number or stuff, things of that sort.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, but that's a good question, thank you.
Do we have a motion to accept permits and fees for rezoning in developments?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with this?
Okay, other applications will be worked through that same process of additional applications.
Next is our inmate housing agreement with the sheriff's department. Applications? Sorry, sir.
Is that part of the motion?
That's part of the motion. Applications. Next is our contract with the sheriff's department on housing inmates. We looked at this, we have an opinion, we have a motion to move forward with this agreement.
Make that motion.
Thank you, sir. We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with this agreement? Aye. Next is our manager's report. Mark, what do you have for us?
All right, turn to your first numbered page of your financials. Again, the financials are dated November 30th, 2024. And on the right side of these, you will see the cash balances as of January 6th, 2025. When we go there, you're just listing the full set of cash on hand, including reserves. Overall cash is $2.75 million, and you can see when you look at the right what the current cash is as of January 6th at $3.3 million.
Hold up, Mark, wait.
Oh, that's 7. Turn real quick, buddy.
All right, look at the top part. On the left side, it says November 30th, 2024. On the right side is cash balances as of January 6th, 2025. So obviously, in February, we will get year-end numbers for December. But looking at cash on hand is $2.7 million, and as of yesterday, there's $3.3 million cash total, and total operating cash at the end of the day of November 30th was $171,000. And you can see the balances of total operating cash on January 6th. Go down, you will see the average monthly expenses based on the annual budget. General fund had expenses of $236,000. Water and sewer had expenses of $623,000. And we continue to improve or stay flat on our monthly, the number of months of liquidity based on our unrestricted reserves at 2.01 months of liquidity. The next page will show our liabilities of debt service to JIPA and the bond. And the lower part will be the debt service from the general fund, which is the 2 SPLOST payments that we make in March and August of 2025 for the fire truck and for the police cars. And then the last one down there is the monthly payment we make on this building here. So everything is paid up, finalized there. You can go to page 4 at the bottom. This will show our monthly income. On page 4, you will see where we received in the month of November $41,000 in property tax payments. So obviously they're not due until February 1st. And you'll also see in December, there's been a large payments of taxes. All right, before the end of the year, we had roughly $100,000 tax payments come through, which is from the mortgage companies, where the mortgage or prepaying their taxes of what they gotten from the homeowners through escrow. So you'll see a big number there. So our income, counting those taxes, is $81,000. Again, we had expenses of $236,000. When you look at the expenses there, you can see where we had total expenditures of $267,000. So we had to do transfers for the month of November for $128,000. And that is going to put us right over our budgeted amount of $1,590,000. $1,602,000 is what our total will be from transfers. And I think we'll see a lesser amount in the month of December. Sewer outlays down there under the expenditure there is $144,000. And that was making our last payments to Higgins out here on the Johnny Miles Bridge. All right, now page 5. Our gross income for water and sewer is $658,000. And our gross expenses is $475,000. So there's $182,000 of positive cash flow in that month. Go to page 6. Again, you're going to see the annual budget and income for the year. We are on pace with the 1 month to go to surpass our annual budget of 7.1. And we will on pace to have 7.3 million in total sales. And we have done excellent in our expenses. We are on pace to be $364,000 under budget when we finish 12/31. Plus, we were a total of November 30th, $270,000, and the balance as of January 6th was $304, being additional deposit of roughly $32,000 has come in from our monthly distribution. All right.
We made the final payment for the original,
That came out in ARPA today.
right?
So I'm gonna talk about that.
All right.
Now, Brian wanted me to tell y'all, Blade is on the dump truck for Friday. Been on there since yesterday. The loads of salt, de-icer, he has all of that prepared and ready to go. And obviously, it will depend on Friday morning how many of his employees can come in. Most of the trucks that they pick up truck are four-wheel drive, and not every one of them. He knows he can get there, and Brent lives next door, so we know those two are going to get there for sure. And but they are prepared and ready to go with that. And with that, I'll ask Dave and Casey to say what they've done to be prepared for police and fire.
From the fire department standpoint, we have gotten all of the chains out for the tires, for the engine, so they all fit. We put them on today and tried them, so they're ready to go. We also upstaff the station so that I have extra firefighters so that we can run multiple calls, because we do anticipate a lot of trees and wires and wrecks occurring as a result of this, so we want to have extra people on duty. So,
And when you say upstaff, there'll be 4 firefighters.
yeah, there'll be 4 firefighters on duty starting at 8 p.m. Thursday night that will stay there till Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We'll have 4 people, we'll have people covering, because we gotta make sure we got, this way we can go multiple directions.
Very good. Great.
So who's gonna make coffee runs?
You. You got that big truck, got 4-wheel drive?
All right, Casey, on the police department.
Well, we'll have our night shift guy will keep us informed throughout the night on Thursday night. Myself, Assistant Chief, will be here Friday. We'll measure, keep a check on it. We may all be there. Excuse me. We may all be on Saturday, depending on how the weather goes. We'll just-
Because your pickup trucks, how many vehicles?
All our vehicles, Explorers are all-wheel drive, and the trucks are four-wheel drive. So,
We ride with you on Saturday?
sure, come on.
So the point to that is, we'll keep everybody involved.
Maine, street.
I'll be there.
But Brian is prepared to go down every city street. He does give me a caveat, if ice comes first and then snow, there's not much that blade's gonna be able to do. Until we get a little rise in the temperature with that. He will do 441 right here in Demorest Mount area to give a little substance there. So if anybody has anything going on, just be patient. And we'll all figure it out as we go.
We will,
We normally have people that slide off the road, Demorest Mountain area. So we may be blocking that road off as well. So we'll have some barricades with us and stuff like that. So if you see the barricades, don't go around them. That means there's something's going on. Have a lot of people try to do that, but
And let's make sure that you two and Casey and myself, Brian, will communicate. Thanks. All right, another thing I sent y'all an email on today. Unfortunately, nobody answered, but we must have a reply. If y'all would put the qualifying fees on the agenda for Mondays, House Bill 581. Otherwise, we might have a call meeting and have that voted on in a separate meeting. We did, she just sent us the email today. I think we need to have that. Okay, Dave, you got that?
Yes.
Everybody just respond. Back in November, I told y'all we were looking to lease the scout hut to the Trail Lights USA, and we did do that. Brian did put a door in the center, just there. And Brian and I are going to do a couple things outside still, and so that is underway. They paid their annual rent and will change power into their name. So all that is handled. The car tag readers, we approved that December of last year. It was 4 payments of round number of $15,000. And we are making today our first payment of that annual payment that's today. And that does come out of the fines and probation account. So we're roughly right at 49,000. So the check will go out to the mail tomorrow. We also approved through the ARPA fire hydrant repairs, right at $30,000, and that company is scheduled to start tomorrow on making those repairs. Garrison Road well update. D. Anderson and Cornelia have asked could their engineers look at those plans to see if it's something as an option to run that water to Cornelia. And they had said that amount was staggering at $11 million. So they're passing, and I've asked Fletcher to start the conversation with Baldwin with that option of running it to them, and with our option to see if we want to look at doing a water plant over the well or not. So we'll have that moving forward now. The ARPA money, we started expending that today that we have approved, and the radios had a balance of $45,000 and some change, and we have prepared that check. Sean and I have signed it today. We'll be moving ARPA money of that amount from our cash reserves into the general fund to cover that expense. And we get a partial of roughly $6,000 from ARPA money that the fire department has.
Now the guys in the county just need to make that project go.
We've been tied up on one tower. We've resolved that. We had to go to court to get that issue resolved on the last tower up above Clarksville because they're all interconnected. So we believe now that that will be proceeding and hopefully it'll be done by summertime.
And with that, December 30th of last year, we paid the 79,000 and change for the fire department radios with that. So our radio expense has totally been paid, prepaid. So the county has the money. The county is who's getting the bill, and they give us. So, glad to let y'all know that Little Panther Creek waterline movement started back today after about a 45-day halt, because we were supposed to go under that creek, and when we did that, the plans were approved to bore. The bore estimate was at $20,000. When they got there, the proposal went to $110,000 because the rock goes that much further. So we had to stop the entire project and apply to EPD to go through the creek. So that's the only way we can move those lines. And we were approved on Monday, equipment was delivered. I think we were approved Thursday, equipment was delivered back on that job yesterday. And Brian and his guys started today. And it should be like 1 or 2 more days to finish that, because that's that ductile iron that we have to do there. Bruce, that is a county gravel road. And how did DOT get involved in that? And it's a wooden, 1-lane bridge, with a 5-ton limit. And on the other side, depending on which side you come from, is massive power lines. The only truck that I can see that needs to be that big probably is a power truck. So, but we'll be spending right at $110,000. The ductile iron was $72,000. Wow. Because we had to send back the first backhoe, that cost us $7,200 for that rental. Because it wasn't, we couldn't let it sit there not knowing how long it could take to get EPD approval. So, House Bill 581. Folks are going to start hearing about this. You obviously voted for or against this. It's a lot of details in this. We have a public presentation on Monday, January 13th, from 5:30 to 6:30 in here. And Bill Sutton, the former county manager, does consulting work around the state for many different counties. And he pulled together the information to do a 30-minute presentation, and then questions and answers about House Bill 581. House Bill 581 will only affect homestead exemption property, so just your personal residence, not commercial, not rental, industrial, has nothing to do with that. And a couple sidebar notes with this for Monday. I sent you all of those in the presentation, and I told you in there, if you read this 2 or 3 times, you're still going to be confused until you can see it and hear it. Monday will be the 5th time I've heard Bill's presentation through chamber meetings and different things of that sort. So I do encourage you to read through that this weekend, make some notes. But the basis is, if all the municipalities in your county vote to opt into this plan, we then could go for a public vote to have what's called a FLOST. It's a floating sales tax. Now, the key is to this money. If there is an extra sales tax approved, it will, I'm just going to make up the number. It's going to roll back your property millage bill as a credit. I'm just going to make up a number. We collect $100,000 in this tax the first year. Well, after that first year, we had to collect the money to know how much we were going to get. The next year, we would roll our millage back. Again, if we collected $100,000, we would roll what equates to that millage back $100,000. Does that make sense? Now, the key to this is it has a sunset date of 6 to 7 years, one of the two, which means 6 or 7 years, the floss is going to end. Now, we've had great sales dollars on this collected. Guess what? We could possibly roll your millage back to 0. And then floss fail in 6 or 7 years. Guess what? I got to raise that millage back up to that amount. Because it's sunset, I can only roll it back if I'm getting the credit. It's It will be a new tax, but it's going specifically to roll back your millage. Now, out of our 7 cities here, if one city opts out, they don't want to do this, the whole floss is over. A lot more details in that to come. General basis of a sidebar. And when we were hear about this, the Department of Revenue, when we ask them questions, they can't answer the questions because nobody knows. But by March the 1st, we got to be in or out. We had a Zoom meeting the other day with all the cities and the county, and I'd already called Phil about doing this meeting for us because most of the cities were doing something about this tonight. I wanted us to have the presentation before we got into this. But what was especially discussed, Meg was on call too, is to have a joint elected officials meeting, anybody else who wants to come, and have Phil do this presentation again, for everybody to hear. Because what we don't want to see is some city say, we're in, so we all vote in, at the last minute they vote out. Because there's some ramifications to somebody voting out, and we'll let Phil go over that. So my question is, just to make sure, if the group wants to have a meeting, y'all be able to go. We would have to advertise the meeting, all of y'all would be there at the same time, and all of them would have to do the same thing. And I've offered, if y'all agree, to host it here. And we just haven't set a meeting date yet, but we're on a time crunch, because you gotta have 3 public meetings.
Yeah, put the word out to see if they.
Well, I see it. Yeah, it's out there already. I just need to say that, yes, y'all are willing to meet. That was one of the questions.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. That was the gist. I'll hit just a couple things off. Brian's water loss for the month, 1 million gallons. So whether it was from leaks, ruptures, fire, we get a report from the county. So sometimes it's guesswork. They don't always know they're doing training or something like that. Water sales, 45 million from Baldwin, 6.2 million from Tacoma, 6.7 million from the Mize Well, for a total of 58,400,000 gallons. Those we've been as high as 68 million. So, remember we brought somebody over to start painting and servicing the fire hydrants. And I'll tell you something else on this, but for the month of November, he did 30 of them. He did 140 of them in 20 work days. And that's painting, servicing, greasing, everything that you gotta do. So he's been moving on that. Now, this is Ryan's recap for 2024. Water department set 154 water meters. That's 154 times 3,015. That's $460,000. And he has 20 more to set in sales in 2025. They fixed 286 water leaks. They did 3,384 work orders. They did 3,024 locates. They responded to 282 911 calls. 97 calls for sewer. They picked up 1,566 loads of leaf and brush piles. They dug up 3,737 meters for the lead and copper test. They painted a total of 365 and serviced 365 fire hydrants out of 750. We have pulled him off of that because right now is not the time to be painting metal out there. So we'll start back on that as soon as the weather, plus as they repair these other 28. So we'll have the county and a lot of these caught up for that.
Where are we at on the SCADA system?
It's well underway. I'll get some more. I haven't asked Brian the last couple of weeks, but I'll get an update on that. But he had so much, if you remember, he had so much he had to build at his place, and then he would be bringing it all over, but I'll get an update. The garbage truck made 40,924 stops. So 41,000 stops, meaning 2 times a week. And then back in November, I think we went to 2.5 days. Brian replaced or installed 15,400 feet of service line, 700 feet of 12-inch water main, 1,000 feet of 6-inch water main. And his last exclamation here, 2024 was very busy and a very productive year in Denver's water and sewer. I know that was long, but I had to hit that. We're within permits for our water and sewer. Dave and the fire department had 88 calls in the month of November, and 29 of which could have been reported as structure fires for ISO reporting. And his total response was 1,104 calls. And he figures he's projecting roughly 80 calls a month. We're down from these big numbers once we changed our service delivery to the county. And he has a lot of cool charts. Casey and the police department had 346 calls in the month of November, 7 domestic, 13 officer completed incident reports, 21 accident reports, 80 traffic stops with only 24 citations, so that is a 30% ticket ratio. And they completed 24 hours of training. With that,
Thank you for that.
my break was done yet. I will give my time back.
Very lost audience.
All right, we'll open it back up again for appearance and public comments. All right. Do we have anything to go into executive session about? Council, we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Which one do you want to call that a second?